Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. A solo recording once again. It is me, Dan Wiseman, coming to you much later than I'd have liked. Unfortunately, on the way down to Wednesday's game, my car broke down. For those of you who've followed me on Twitter, you'll have seen the escapades that I've been through in terms of watching the game. I watched the game in a lay-by on my phone, just outside of Brownhills in Warsaw. Shout out to everybody who's listening from around there. That's where I watched the game. That's where I was stuck for most of Wednesday night, most of Thursday, desperately trying to get my car back on the road. But I finally made it. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to come to you guys earlier. But what that's allowed to do is allowed a lot of the discourse to develop. It's allowed for a lot of people to kind of get those super emotional, amazing kind of highs and the reactions that come out of the way. We're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into exactly how Villa got that result against Man City. Exactly what it means for the game at the weekend as well against Arsenal, which is just going to be a tough, if not even tougher test for Villa than what we faced on Wednesday night. But let's start off with the main things. And what a night, an incredible night. One of the best results in Villa's recent history, one of the best results in Villa's history overall. It is a game that truly deserves to be in the pantheon of those all-time great Villa performances, and a real crescendo for what we've been building up to under Unai Emery. It felt that this was our mountaintop. This is the moment that we've been building towards. And that's not to say that it won't get any better from Villa, but it kind of just goes to show that everything that we've been doing, every game, the way that we've seen Unai's vision slowly unfolding, the way that he wants to play football, his tactical nuances, and those little unique things in terms of how he plays football and how he wants to play football, just peaked tonight. I don't think we've ever seen Villa execute not just a game plan, I think that's a little bit cliche, but to a man, the way that we understood the roles and we understood how we had to adapt. You know, I spoke about that a lot in his pre-match press conference, how we had to adapt our style and our play to beat Manchester City. We did it in a way that almost didn't really feel like we changed too much at all. It was that we almost turned everything up by 10%, both on the ball and off the ball. And those are the two different things that we're going to break down today. Exactly what Villa did well in possession and what we did out of possession, and what that means for the game this weekend against Arsenal, which is also at Villa Park. So let's run through some of the numbers. Let's start with the man on the sidelines, shall we? Nobody more important than him. This victory really belongs to Unai Emery more so than anybody else, really. 31 wins out of his first 50 in charge of Aston Villa, which is absolutely just remarkable, really. The man in the opposite dugout, Pep Guardiola, only managed 29 in his first 50 at Manchester City. And I think what Unai did really well today is, the lineup. I think we got that absolutely perfect. I was surprised that we didn't see Moussa Diaby. That I know that the way that Leon was playing before the game, and we'll come to exactly why Leon was the star of the show and just how much he proved me wrong. But I thought, given the impact that we saw from Diaby off the bench against Bournemouth in providing that late assist for Ollie Watkins' fantastic header, meant that I thought that he would be in line for a start in this game. But no, it was Leon Bailey that started, and we'll go into exactly why that was fantastic. But I want to start a bit further back in terms of the defence and the midfield, and particularly pick out four players: Pau Torres, Diego Carlos, Douglas Luiz, and Boubacar Kamara, who I thought were the real unsung heroes, to be honest with you, in this performance. And we've seen a lot of, through Unai's reign, the fact that he likes to bait the press. And this is something that we, as Villa fans, and particularly the Villa Park crowd on a match day when we're, not necessarily in the lead, I've really had to get used to, in the fact that Villa never go chasing a game. Everything is measured and we play within our style. The style, and we spoke about this in the light of the Spurs game, much like Ange Postecoglou, the style never changes. We are totally uncompromising in the way that we play. And putting the sole of your foot on the ball, drawing a team out to then play through them, is exactly what Villa have looked to do in the 13 months that we've had Unai Emery. And it has worked to great success. But today it probably worked better than it ever has, and it was a case in point for why we signed Pau Torres, how good he was on the ball, how well Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara are able to receive the ball on the half turn and then pick out passes of their own to the players more advanced. We had Tielemans, who was playing a little bit higher up the pitch today, John McGinn, Leon Bailey, and obviously Ollie Watkins. And if you look at Villa's passing map from this game, Diego Carlos into Boubacar Kamara is a particularly strong link. I thought we exploited that really well. Boubacar Kamara perhaps proving me and Dan wrong slightly. We've been not critical, but kind of somewhat noticing that maybe his performances levels generally through the season haven't been as high as they were last year. But we obviously missed him in the Bournemouth game. And if you look at how the difference in performance from that Bournemouth game to Wednesday night against Manchester City and how key Boubacar Kamara was to that game, shows just exactly what Villa miss when he's not in the side. He was absolutely exceptional. The way that those players just continually, particularly Carlos and Torres, just cut through the first two lines of City's press to allow Luiz Kamara to turn, to get their head up and play in the likes of Bailey and McGinn and Watkins, who were running on the shoulder in behind the back line, particularly over and over again, was just really, really impressive. And I thought going forward, we were absolutely exceptional, but I thought that everything good that happened in that performance was due to those four guys. And I just wanted to shout them out. Leon Bailey, everything that he did on Wednesday night was done with conviction and with a tenacity and with purpose. And that's not something we've always said about Leon Bailey. We've noted at times he can be a little bit of a trickster, likes to showboat. He's amazing when he's on the ball. What he can do and how he can manipulate a ball and turn a man inside out is amazing. But sometimes he'll do it 2 or 3 times and then lose the ball. And we've particularly seen, as his performance levels have dropped at some points in his Villa career, because it has been a rollercoaster ride for Leon Bailey since he's joined Aston Villa, that sometimes he seems to be a little bit in his own head. He's a little bit confused. He doesn't necessarily know when to release the ball, when to beat a man, when to dribble, when to shoot. And sometimes he can even do a combination of 2 or 3 of those things and just never look like the finished products. But on Wednesday night, that was absolutely different. He obviously got the goal at home last season under Gerrard against Manchester City, and he did it again today. Everything he did was done with a clear purpose. He absolutely ran the show. He knew when to release. He knew when to dribble. And that's not easy against this Manchester City side because they defend generally so well. They have an exceptional array of defenders in there. And so to play like that with such purpose against a defence like that is testament to the trajectory ultimately that Leon Bailey has been on. He was absolutely fantastic. The goal is obviously deflected in the end, but it was more than deserving. His performance certainly deserved that goal. And I think it's just a wonderful part of this narrative from Wednesday night that he was the one that got that goal. And so, yeah, a huge shout out to Leon Bailey and to what was an incredible performance. But to go back to the defence, let's look at what Villa did out of the ball, and those numbers are all there. City registered 2 shots all game, the fewest ever by a Guardiola side in a league match, and none of them came after the 11th minute. In fact, both of those shots came from 2 really close short-range efforts from Erling Haaland to double save by Emi Martinez. That has been all over social media. It's absolutely exceptional. Emi Martinez as well, we really can't forget just how important he was to this victory. I thought he was exceptional today, exceptional against Bournemouth. He's been on an absolutely amazing course through the whole season. I thought he was brilliant again, particularly with his feet. On Wednesday night, 2 shots, the fewest ever by a Guardiola side. That is an incredible statistic. The way that Villa nullified that back line. What was particularly impressive is that, Dan and I spoke about that right back situation where Conte didn't look so confident and hasn't looked so confident in recent games. I thought he particularly, he's obviously a more defensive right back than Matty Cash, and I thought that the way that he really bunched up and got tight to Carlos and Pau Torres and Digne as well. We need a massive shout out to Luca Digne, who looked like he could be leaving in the summer, has had to step in for Alex Moreno, has done so exceptionally, and we've shouted him out at points throughout the season. But the way that back 4 really bunched up, our shape without the ball was just incredible. And when you consider the attacking talent that City had in that forward line throughout the game, Bernardo, Phil Foden, Julian Alvarez, Erling Haaland, and then off the bench, they brought on Oscar Bob, who's a really exciting young player, Mateus Nunes, Matej Kovacic as well. There's so much creativity in that front line. And I thought the way that Villa made the gaps in between the lines really narrow. We maintained our high line as well. And I think it added to a frenetic nature of this game, which Villa ultimately came out on top of. Guardiola doesn't like chaos. I think this is why we've seen this a lot in his reign. I think it's why I don't think Guardiola likes derbies. He never really embraces derby matches. He's always quick to play them down. And more often than not, and I think this is why we saw when Liverpool were really at their peak under Klopp, where we saw Guardiola struggle at Anfield, was because of the chaos that Liverpool were able to generate at Anfield. And if you're a real kind of merchant for that chaos and you're able to be a real advocate and come out on top of that situation, you're able to manage games when they become frantic and transitional and very end-to-end. I think that's when you can really exploit Guardiola's size, because ultimately he is an expert in dominance and in control. And if you are able to turn the tables, and if you're able to press Manchester City, which is something that Villa did exceptionally well on Wednesday night, we won possession in the final third 13 times actually against City in that game, which again is the most ever by an opposition team against a Guardiola side. Left their defenders scrambling. We were seeing crazy things happen to their backlines. You know, those three players, Walker, Diaz and Vardiol, who normally look so assured in possessions, were slashing clearances. We saw them slip a number of times. Erling Haaland was having to get back there to boot balls out at points. Once you force City out of their comfort zone, I think that's when you can exploit them. And that's something that we did absolutely fantastically. And I think Unai deserves real credit for, because we've seen sometimes, to Villa's discredit, have games become very transitional end-to-end. And we can sometimes see a game that should be 3-0 to Villa end 3-1. And we've seen that a number of points through this season. The fact that we kept a clean sheet here is incredibly interesting. It's our first in the Premier League since that away win at Chelsea, all the way back on the 24th of September. And so Villa defensively haven't been great through that period. There have been mistakes, but we really tightened all of those up to make sure that we got what was an incredible result on Wednesday night. So now all eyes turn to the weekend. It is 10 months since our last home defeat at Villa Park. Villa are going for 15 consecutive wins in the Premier League at home. We've never recorded 15 home wins consecutively in the Premier League. Unai has won 16 of his 20 Premier League home games as Villa manager, drawing 1, losing just 3. That is as many home wins as Steven Gerrard, Gerard Houllier and Alex McLeish combined for in their entire tenures as Aston Villa managers in the competition. Shout out to AVFC Stato for that one, because I absolutely love that statistic. But the way that this has been set up is really interesting. The fact that it's Arsenal, because obviously they were the side that Villa last lost to at home in that crazy game that saw Emi Martinez come up for that corner in the last few minutes. Arsenal ran at the other end, scored into an open net. I think it was Martinelli who got the goal in that game. Jorginho had rattled one in off the bar just minutes before. Arsenal come into this game top of the league. And if you look at the form tables, and between these two sides particularly, Villa don't have a great record against Arsenal. We've lost our last 4 Premier League games against Unai Emery's form side, winning 3. We won 3 in a row between July 2020 and February 2021. Through lockdown, we really had Arsenal's number, and Arsenal weren't great through lockdown, albeit. But yeah, if you go through the numbers, Arsenal have lost just 2 of the last 21 away Premier League games against Villa. Against no side do they have more away league wins in the competition. Aston Villa with 14, the same as they have against West Ham. But Villa are winless in their last 8 Premier League games against sides starting the day on the top of the table, which is where Arsenal will sit. They are on 36 points, Villa 4 points behind on 34. Should results go Villa's way this weekend, Liverpool are away against Selhurst Park. There is the opportunity for Villa to go second, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves there. We know that Arsenal have the ability to dig deep, and I think this is something that Villa really have to be wary of. This Arsenal side do not lie down. We saw that in their midweek win over Luton. We've seen it on a number of points this season. The amount of late winners this side are getting in the Premier League is really something that Villa have to be wary of. This game will never be dead. This Arsenal Arteta has done a really good job of instilling a never say die attitude into this Arsenal team. 5:30 tomorrow under the lights again, which I think is something, there is just something completely, in this world of statistics and tangible metrics and everything like that, just Villa Park under the lights is just special. And I think it's really proven that there aren't many more difficult places to go in world football right now than B6. And I think, again, we have to make sure that we carry exactly the same energy from Wednesday night into this game against Arsenal. But yes, thank you very much for listening. I just wanted to shout out everybody who's watched this video because I know it's coming a little late. Make sure you leave a like. We'll be kind of splitting this up into a couple of videos potentially. This will be all split up again across our Instagram and TikTok channels as well. There'll be a link tree in the description where you can find all of our socials. Leave a comment for Dan as well, who will be tuning in from the States. He's out there for some activations that he's doing for his day job. What an incredible year Dan's had as well. So make sure you shout him out, guys, as well. Make sure, you go and follow us elsewhere on our socials. There's also a link to our FPL League down there as well. The winner will get a shirt of their Villa shirt, I should say, of their choice at the end of the season. So make sure you go and compete in there. There's like 100 of you in there at the moment. It's absolutely great. The winner is changing every weekend. My girlfriend's in the top 5 as well, so we need to make sure that she doesn't come out on top. So make sure you go and join that one as well, guys. I appreciate you listening to my solo ramblings this week. I know it's never quite the same when it's just the one of us, but we will be back at full complement in no time at all. I'll be joining you after the Arsenal game to break down that one as well. But yes, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope wherever you're tuning in from, you're staying safe, staying well, and let's hope that we're talking about another win when I come to you on Saturday night. Thank you very much for watching, and up the Villa.